welcome. Oh my God, it has been such a long time. I know some of you all probably have been like, where has she been? So, not a funny story. So, I have been for the last 2 weeks, really not 2 weeks, I guess week. I've been recovering from COVID. I ended up contracting it from my grandson. Um, his mother had it, and you know how the story goes. So I ended up with it, which, I mean, eventually, I figure all of us will probably end up being exposed, which I was last year. And this year, I ended up contracting it. So that's why today I haven't had coffee in, I guess it's going on week 3. So I've been drinking water. And you know that deadly cough that comes with COVID. COVID is like the gift that keeps on giving. It's really crazy. But um, my infection really wasn't it wasn't bad, just a lingering effect. So I haven't even started school yet. So I've been out for we had our first day of school Monday, and I have been at home, so I will meet my students next week. So Monday will be my first official day. So what a way to start my week with my coffee chat. I love this coffee chat because it gives me an opportunity to um, actually talk to you all. So I've been doing a lot of, different things, trying to get myself together and prepared for the new school year. So if you're not a part of my math intervention group, it's a free math intervention with the Ignited Teacher group. You can hop over there. For some reason, I'm having a hard time adding people to it. But as the school year has started up, a lot of teachers have gotten um, new roles as math interventionists. So that's one of the things that I'm going to talk about today is getting started, just really getting started with your school year. I think, a lot of people think, oh, I'm the math interventionist. It's really the same process as if you would start up any school year. So I'm going to talk to you all about that and show you some things, how I get organized and really process things. You cannot, and I'm going to say this, you cannot start your intervention without organizing yourself. The first step in any intervention is to look at your kids' data. You have to look at the kids' data because, like I said, the process is still the same. So, what you do is go in and look at the data and then set a goal for yourself. If you have not set any goals, you will not meet a goal. And I can be honest with you, no goals will be met because you don't have an end game. So that's one of the things I'm going to talk about in this coffee chat. So I'm kind of old school. I know some people use like digital planners. I can't do it. Digital planners are not my thing. I've tried it, but I have to put pencil to paper. So I went over after being quarantined for a week or so. I went over to Office Depot. Who loves a good binder? So bought a 2-inch binder. That's what this is. And I got some dividers. So this year, somebody decided that I was going to be the 8th grade Algebra 1 teacher. So I'm teaching 8th grade Algebra 1. Um, it's not a large group. I think I have two sections and eighth grade math and two sections of intervention. With the intervention is not really a concern. So this year, since I am, I was the math interventionist solely last year for the high school. So now I have two intervention classes. If I'm not mistaken, those two classes have children that are in my eighth grade math class. So you'll get to see, I'm going to share some little clips, especially if you're on YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, you need to definitely subscribe to that because I'm going to do some little short videos. Well, that's my goal. and to show you how I break down and really get really micro and really focus on how to move kids incrementally. A lot of people are looking for like these huge gains, and not that they don't happen, they do happen, but what I do is I get real specific and really look at where my kids are struggling at. How can I support them so that they can meet the grade level expectation? And if you don't have a goal this year, then that's one of the things that you can set for yourself is, how can I help my students to meet their grade level expectation? That is the goal. Also, you can look at those big themes that they have in math, like for third grade is fractions and multiplication, and it's and place value. Fourth grade has a lot of place value as well, but you're transitioning to decimals, division, and multiplication. So all of these grade levels have themes, and you really should be looking at those themes as you look at setting goals. You need a goal for this year. I'm hosting a free webinar. I always like to do webinars, but I'm hosting a free webinar getting started with math intervention. I have had some teachers reach out to me, and if you haven't, I'm going to put that in the description. Oh, my ear is itching. My free webinar for you all to join that. I'm just going to share 3 tips to help you get started with your math intervention. And it's nothing magical. You have to use your data. I had a lady in my Math Intervention Academy ask me, why did I move from math intervention? Well, I'm trying to get nationally board certified. That's one thing. And one of the things with math intervention, your data is really guiding you. Not that in your classroom, data doesn't guide, you're not using data, but it's more of curriculum based. Math intervention is not curriculum based, it is based on data, vertical alignment, math progressions, all of those things. It's not something that we do, you know, we follow a curriculum. No, the data guides us. That's the difference. And if you were in my math intervention group, you notice that there was, I talked about the difference between math intervention and remediation. Remediation is grade level content. So you could use the curriculum for remediation, but you cannot use the curriculum for your grade level for intervention. That is going to be a vertical alignment, math progression type of mastery for intervention. So that's what this is. And for me, let me see. Let me pull up my chat because I don't have it up for my comments. Let me see, bring that up. Oh, good morning from India. I knew I had something. No. All right, let me, because I couldn't see the comments. And that's coming from Facebook. Good morning. So I use these dividers because we have pacing guides So I'm gonna be honest with you. I've taught elementary school, so obviously I've taught multiple subjects, but I've never taught the same math subject. So this is gonna be new. I'm up for the challenge. So Algebra 1, I supported Algebra 1 students last year, so that's not going to be different. What's going to be different is the eighth grade math. So I have 5 dividers. They cost $1.99 at Office Depot. So I keep up with my kids' data. That's the first one. That's my first tab that's going to be there. Then activities. Now, I have gotten older. If you all are new, I've been teaching for over 20 years. So a lot of stuff that I could keep in my mind, I can't keep that anymore. So I write down a lot of things, and a lot of times I use just a composition notebook, and I've started using a happy planner. And I use stickers. I don't know. I'm a math person, but it gets my little right brain going. So I use just this one. They sell this planner year round at Joann's. And it's real simple. What I do is it has the calendar, and I use the colored markers. And what it does, it keeps me on track with what I'm teaching, things that I'm looking for, things that I need to write down that I can't remember. So it's a really good planner to have. I don't really track things like activities at school. That's not what's this for. I do like this one because let me see if you can see. It has it has lines like for Monday. So a lot of teachers introduce on Monday. Yeah, I run a binder for each grade level, like your notebook for each child. Exactly. Um, I generally don't always introduce on Monday a new skill. I know some people are regimented like that. I'm not. So I generally let the flow of my students' learning to actually guide the pacing of my lessons, and how I introduce. Some of these, and I'm gonna say this, and it's not ugly, and I'm not trying to be ugly with administrators, but teaching is not cookie cutter. So I told you all I haven't been at school, so we got this lesson plan. I'm not putting all that stuff in the lesson plan because, first of all, I feel like as an administrator, if you really want to know what's going on in the classroom, you need to get up from your office and walk your little feet down to my classroom. I'm not going to run all this paperwork. I'm not doing that. So at the end of the day, what's important to me is planning my activities, making sure my kids hit the mastery. I'm not an exit ticket person. I'm an essential question person because what I've noticed over the years, essential questions are a whole lot better than exit tickets. Exit tickets inform instruction. Essential questions tell you what the children have learned and their thinking. It takes the children deeper than what an exit ticket does. I can get formative assessment during my lesson. I don't need that. That is more of a procedural, maybe a newer teacher type strategy. Essential questions, and you can I haven't done any blog posts on essential questions. Now that I think about it, I guess I should do some um, teaching tip Tuesday on why I use essential questions instead of exit tickets. Formative assessments are something that should be done throughout your lesson. You don't need an exit ticket to do that. It is very procedural. And some people like exit tickets. I just think it bogs down my desk, which I don't even have a desk. I got rid of my desk many years ago. So but I am an essential question. And my essential questions generally talk about, something from the lesson. It has to do with that like big idea. So we're starting in eighth grade with ordering rational numbers. I was screaming. I was like, "Oh God, I need to get my number line out because I already know those anticipated learning difficulties with the children. I already know that's going to be an issue. So I was like, okay, I need to get a number line. I do have a classroom number line, and I use sticky notes on my number line. My number lines are functional, and I put sticky notes on there. And then we got to go back to converting fractions and decimals. I already know, so I'm unpacking those prerequisite skills for eighth grade. So if you're a math interventionist and you're, say, for instance, looking at a third grade skill, that's one of the things that you're going to have to really perfect is really get, okay, real micro. Oh, here's the third grade skill. What are the kids need to master this skill? And that's what you're focusing on. The classroom teacher is focusing on mastering, they are mastering that skill itself. But you as an interventionist, you're looking at everything that they need to get to that grade level skill. And that those are the things that you are working on. So for me, when I'm looking at my eighth grade, because we're starting out with ordering rational numbers, and I don't think irrational numbers shouldn't be on there. I hadn't really looked at it. Don't quote me on that. But um, I know that with my activity, I'm gonna need a number line. So like that's one of the things that I'm going to use. Now, how do I get my students to start talking about these ordering? Why is this important? And I really like to make math real, so why would we need to order fractions and decimals? And what I'm going to do is start talking about how are are numbers always expressed in the same way in life? And they're not, because we pay for gas, we go to the grocery store. Numbers are expressed in different ways depending on context. So you really want to get your kids to understand how it connects, especially if you're a math interventionist. You have to make math real for those kids, because like I tell them, you're not dealing with the best and the brightest. It's a lot of children that have had like no success. Like last year, like for ninth grade, I swear it was very few kids that actually have passed the standardized test, have felt really good about math and their successes. So if you're a math interventionist, and if you're a classroom teacher, like I'm going to be, my math intervention classes should be something different than what we're doing. Now, I'm not saying throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying start over. But I have two math intervention classes, but there'll be an extension based on my overall objective. But like I said, I'll be looking at those prerequisite skills and trying to find things that are different. So since these are intervention classes, I have been really working on the 2 week projects and doing little things that make math real and make sense to kids who otherwise would not understand it. So that's what this is. So it's kind of like a brain dump. And I think at the back of this happy planner, it has like goals. And I know that seems trivial, but it's important. Like what are your goals for like this month? Um I do use some extra paper. Let me see. So with my happy planner, if it doesn't, because this one doesn't come, so I buy other paper so I can write my thoughts down, and I just stick it in here. So like if there's something, ooh, it got dark for a sec. So if there's something that I need to remember, or I have Like I have thoughts when I drive, and I'm gonna be honest with you, Google Doc is really good because now you can from your phone, from the app, you can speak. Like I've gotten older, and those thoughts evade you, and you're like, oh, what was that? I was trying to remember. But so I've gotten to the point where I'm on my phone, and if I have like a real good activity and I'm like, I can do this and it makes sense, I'll just hop on my little phone and with my Google Doc and talking to it, or I'll do my Samsung notes and talking to it so I won't forget the activity or what, because my best activities come when I'm driving, watching TV, sleeping, all of those good things. So that's generally, how I get started with my school year is really organizing myself. Make sure that you have a way to organize yourself. If you're a math interventionist, organization is going to be key. Then you have to have a way to process your own information. So I've had some teachers ask me, will they need certain things? Well, that depends on how you process things. If you feel like you need it to really kind of guide you, then you need it. I'm not the one that says that, oh, you have to have this and it has to be this way. I can help you with the overall rollout of math intervention, but the way that you see things and break down things and put your program together is going to be unique to how you do things. I'm a little bit more regimented in my process. Some people like it, some people don't, but I've learned over the years certain things work, and how I start up the new school year is how I started up. For example, each one of my classes will have its own interactive notebook. I don't commingle interactive notebooks. Some people may say, well, that's too much work. Well, you know what? I'm never lost when I have to start up my classroom with 4 different classes. I never have those issues because each class has its own individual math intervention notebook or whatever resources that come with that. I don't commingle the two because first of all, each class has its own personality and its own, um, what I'm looking for, pacing. Every class is not the same. I don't care if they are taking the same coursework. It doesn't work like that. And I know in high school it's difficult because I'm in secondary. And what I say is make life easier for you. Even if you're in math intervention, make it easier for you. Use some of these tech skills, and I'll be talking about Plickers and how I use Plickers to help with my students. And, this school year, it sucks. It's a crappy school year. I'm just gonna say that. It sucks. We have all these COVID cases. Kids are in and out. What I do is I create videos. And if you're not into creating videos, then you might want to you know, really embrace that because you can't be everywhere. So if you create a YouTube channel with unlisted videos for your kids who are here and there, or even if you find someone else's, you can use my videos, to where the kids can use it and it's taught the way that you want it to be taught. Those are some things that you need to start looking at because as we go into the fall months, they said that COVID gets really bad. So we need to anticipate these things and get ready because some of the schools I've seen in Facebook groups, they're shutting down because they have like hundreds of cases of COVID. And, you know, you just don't know what's going to happen. So you need to make sure that you're preparing yourself for that so that your classes can continue to run. So I talked about my lesson planning, my organizing, and goals. So that's the first step. Get your kids' data. And it's not always standardized tests. Please don't say, take and say, well, I need to get my kids standardized tests. That's one data point in time. That is not the most important data point. It's the end, it's summative. But everything that the kids do anecdotal, meaning what you observe in the classroom, all contribute to that one data point that your administrators um, are harassing you about. So if the student is doesn't work well, and I always, like in my math intervention academy, I talk about can't do, won't do children, or can do and won't do, because we have a lot of those kids that can do but won't do. So you look at each kid individually and see what makes them tick, and then you find something to help motivate the children. And you're not going to get 100%. So if somebody tells you, oh, well, your data is not 100%, well, you know what? Your name is not Jesus Christ. And you didn't die on the cross, and you didn't do any of those things, turn water into wine, yada, yada, yada. And if they were in your spot, it wouldn't be 100% either. The best that you can hope for is growth. That is what you're looking for. And I can't stand it when people try to play that trick about, 100%. Child, please. We're human beings. There's no 100%, especially not in education, because they're human beings too. And there are things that outside factors that affect what goes on in that classroom. So don't get caught up in that rat race, because I don't. Because at the end of the day, I take full responsibility for what goes on in my classroom. And I'm not going to go back and forth with people on this whole data thing, because I'm here to teach and get results. And the results they'll grow, but sometimes kids don't hit where they need to hit. They may not be proficient. They're too far behind sometimes. But a lot of these um, achievement and school accountability measures have things in there for growth. So that's another thing you need to look at. I look at my children, are they going to be a growth child or a proficient child? Because some kids are too far behind. If you have kids that are 3 grade levels behind, there's no way that they're going to be proficient at the end of the school year, because that's a lie. And I'm just telling you that personally. So don't get caught up in trying to be something that you are trying to achieve, or setting a goal that's not achievable. Look at your students individually and their data, and determine, are they going to pass that standardized test, or are they going to grow towards it? That's it. Those are your two options. And I generally make a prediction, but by January, I'm like, okay, this child is going to pass. I predict that this child won't, but they'll grow. So you have to determine where those kids are. So don't get caught up in that rat race and arguing with people about data, because, they're telling us, well, they have, what's the word, learning loss. I don't even use that. That's ridiculous. So it's not learning loss. The kids didn't learn nothing. A lot of kids didn't show up. And even now, with this pandemic out of control, we're still going to have things that affect these children. So at the end of the day, set your goals, set the goals for your students. Those are also important. And have conversations about where they are academically, because a lot of these children really think sometimes that they are not where they are, and nobody has really had that conversation with them about where they are. But at the end of the day, you set the goal for them, and you expect them to meet the goal, but you have to blaze the path for them to actually meet the goal. So for me, and as an example, I give my kids, say for instance, like, look, for every test, you need to grow 5 points. And by the end of the school year, you got kids that are 70%. So, like, you're talking about 35%, and they grow every time. That is doable for children. So, some make it doable where the kids can have some success. And I'm really looking forward to this school year, because I do growth parties in my class, because a lot of the kids are like, well, the smart kids are always the ones that get um these achievements, but no, we do growth parties. So because what it does is it creates community, and it makes those higher level kids appreciate the children that are growing. And it makes it look at these children from a different standpoint. So those are some of the things that I do in my classroom. Not that the children that are academically inclined don't get patted on the back, but they get patted on the back all the time. They've been doing that since they were in pre-K, first grade, Vanguard, whatever it is. So that's what I'm trying to tell you all. Find some ways, especially if you're an intervention, to praise the growth and set those goals. That's the first step in getting started. I'll be setting my goals because I've started looking at my students and who they are. I haven't met them. We meet our children on paper first before we meet them in person. Everything that's on paper is not always true. And I don't think we should treat children as such. So I look at their stuff and I take it with a grain of salt because children, they react to different teachers. Different instruction is always different. That's the human part of it that you can't quantify. So think about these things as I'm getting myself together. It's just one of those things that we adjust because we're human beings, but always set your goals, get yourself organized. That's what I'm doing. Lesson plan wise, I don't spend a whole heap of time on lesson plans. I Most of my time is spent on creating the activity. What does mastery look like? Really going in depth, really making sure, pulling out thinking, making sure that kids can articulate and talk about math instead of putting stuff on paper. I am not that lesson plan person. And, sometimes I guess starting out, if you're a new teacher, those things are needed. But if you're a teacher that has been teaching any length of time, you should not be spending your time planning and writing stuff down. That should be just something that you put on paper. You know the objective. You know how to flush it out. That's a no-brainer. I don't need to attach this to my lesson plans. I don't need to attach this because I'm not doing that. And people can call me a rebel, but at the end of the day, I get results. And you can't negate that. And my students can articulate um, what they need. And we're not going to play about achievement because, like I tell my students, I come to school to take care of business. I take my job seriously. And what we're not going to do is let the state dictate what our achievement is going to be. We're going to handle our business. And that's how I take care of it. But I do have fun. We do interesting things. We talk about things, it's a real life situation. Math is supposed to be something that kids can relate to. And that's why I'm so irritated with the state of Texas and this foolishness about you can't talk about this, you can't do this. Well, you know what? I'm sorry, all kids don't have the same type of exposure. So, yes, we talk about stuff in the hood, stuff that is relevant to them, that makes sense for them, so it can be an anchor to this foolishness and this fake math that we have to teach. So, but I'm going to get off of that soapbox, but I am so happy to be back and thank you all for tuning in. I have my coffee chat. It's probably more like a rant. Um, every fourth Saturday, I come on. Hopefully, I'll be back to my coffee. But as you can see, I'm trying to flush my system. This is some great alkaline water. It's really smooth. I'm a water drinker anyway, but thank you all for tuning in. If you have any questions, definitely hit me up on Facebook, or if you're in my Facebook group, um, comment on the live stream. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, hop on over there while you're on here watching this and subscribe to the Ignited Teacher. I'm trying to hit that 1,000 subscribers, and I'm almost at 2,000 hours of watch time, which was interesting. So, but I'm looking forward to a great school year and sharing what I'm doing in my classroom, and as well, definitely share what you're doing in your classroom, things that work. Where community and collaboration is key. Teaching is on the job training, and we learn from each other in ways that other professions don't. So if you have something, you're in my Facebook group that's working, definitely share. Put your wins in there because we need some this year, even the small ones, because we're in for a rough ride, but I'll see you all at the finish line because we're going to make it this year. So much love. See you all on my next coffee chat or Teaching Tip Tuesday. Bye bye.